Well, first of all, thank you so much, Governor Strickland, for taking the time to come and talk today. We really appreciated you heading out here to DC. In your presentation, you talked a lot about renewables and developing more advanced energy. And it seems like the power industry really faces a whole array of challenges and opportunities right now. So what are some of those that you're seeing at the national level, as well as, how does that compare with the state of Ohio?
Well, our nation consumes a lot of energy, and unfortunately, too much of that energy has been imported, and we've depended upon outside sources for our energy needs. And much of the energy that we use in Ohio and elsewhere is not as environmentally friendly as we would like it to be. So we, I think, are facing a tipping point in our country. I think it's true of my state, certainly, where we've got to decide if we're going to be serious about pursuing new sources of energy, renewable sources of energy, cleaner technologies. And if we are, that means we've got to commit ourselves to certain policies and programs. And we're trying to do that in Ohio with our renewable energy portfolio standard and our advanced technology standard, which we think makes us certainly among the top 10 in America. But I believe we need the broadest portfolio of energy sources and resources. And that includes certainly the more traditional sources of energy, and we need to learn to use coal in a way that does not harm the environment. I'm an advocate for expanded use of nuclear power because I do believe that climate change is a serious issue that is deserving of our immediate and strong attention, and that nuclear energy is one of the ways that we can help that problem. But I also believe that we must become more independent, and that means we work to develop solar power and wind power and biofuels. And in Ohio, we have a lot of fuel cell technology research going on. So I think we should use the broadest array of energy resources that we can muster and utilize them wisely and efficiently, and use the word efficient, and I would emphasize that perhaps that is one thing that we can do, that it would not pollute the air at all. It has been said that the cleanest form of energy is the energy we do not use, and so there's much we can do in that regard as well. But these are all things that Ohio, and I believe every state, should be committed to and working toward.
Now, you had mentioned, developing a broad array of resources and having it be efficient as well. Looking at that from the federal standpoint, you had brought up, comprehensive energy policy, really looking at that a little bit more. So what role do you see the federal government playing in this energy space, and then what role do you see the states playing?
Well, I served for 12 years in the U.S. House of Representatives on the Energy and Commerce Committee, and during those years I experienced a lot of frustration over the fact that we did not have a comprehensive national energy policy in place. I think it's past time that we developed such a policy and committed ourselves to it. The federal government can do some things, obviously, that cannot ever be achieved by individual states working independently. So the states can do many things, and the states can be laboratories for new efforts, certainly, but I believe that the federal government has a responsibility in this area. It is hugely important to our national security. It's hugely important for our national economy, and it's hugely important for our environment. And for all of these reasons, I think the federal government must take a stronger position, and I hope that happens in the not too distant future. It's important.
So you talked about the federal government's involvement from a policy standpoint. What about a lot of the stimulus dollars, some of the funding that's being put towards energy? Have you seen that make a significant difference?
Well, absolutely. And one of the things that I'm really proud of, and I didn't mention it in my speech today, but Ohio is leading the nation in carrying out the weatherization efforts that are being paid for through the stimulus money. I met with Secretary Chu 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he told me what others have told me, that no state is carrying out the weatherization program with the same level of efficiency. That is Ohio, and I'm proud of that fact. So that's good, and it was only possible through the stimulus resources. But there are other things that the stimulus resources are enabling us to do, investing in new technologies. Wind, certainly. I'm hugely interested in getting access to stimulus resources to help Ohio build a large biorefinery industry. But whether it's investments in wind and the manufacturers who produce component parts for the wind industry, certainly the solar industry is benefiting hugely from resources coming to our state from through the stimulus resources. So I think it's been hugely important, and it's going to be important going forward. Many of the stimulus resources for new energy technologies have not yet been expended. I mean, they're they're in the pipeline, but I think this spring and summer we're going to see a much greater utilization of stimulus resources to encourage these industries.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much. Those are all the questions that I had.
Well, thank you.
So,
It's good talking with you.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So,